The 1980 World Tandem High Diving Champion would still hold the record of the highest dive in the world under the rules that all divers must complete a full 360-degree flip in the air during the attempt. These dives are so frightening that once a daughter of a diver lost her life with fear. But what exactly happened in 1983? Let's find this out together. Imagine yourself on the beach in Maui in the 1770s. You look over to the right, and there is the king, commanding a new warrior to jump from a staggering volcanic height to prove their courage for battle. The warrior leaps from a death-defying tall jungle cliff, whistling through the air into dazzling aqua water. Early written records confirm that high diving has existed for hundreds of years, but for the past 40 years, an incredible high diving record remains unbroken. Hardcore divers point to the classic rules for setting records in the sport. High diving, a potentially dangerous sport, requires adhering to 3 fundamental rules. To be considered a diver must accomplish a 180 vertical turn, with their head closer to the water than their feet. This is what distinguishes diving from jumping. In rule number 2, the diver must leave the pool alone. After completing the dive, the competitor must exit on their own. If assistance is required, the effort will be disqualified. Rule number 3. No protective equipment allowed. Participants must dress in Speedos or other appropriate attire. Let's fast forward to a cool sunny day in San Diego in March 1983, where 5 high divers pose in front of SeaWorld Park for ABC's big series, Wide World of Sports. Under the eyes of thousands of spectators at the park, and live in front of millions on TV, each diver would attempt a near impossible platform dive. Each diver was to execute at least 1 somersault and exit the water without the assistance of others from an unimaginable height. How high? 172 feet, high above the circling orcas and pinnipeds, and into the placid, deep blue pool below. Each diver would go on to successfully dive from a height of 172 feet and emerge from the pool setting a world high diving record that would not be broken to this day. First up, Rick Winters. The jump was attempted at SeaWorld in San Diego, where the event would be televised for millions to watch, with the dive being regulated by the Guinness World Records. You only really feel how high it was when the camera zooms out to show Winters well above the San Diego skyline. That would make any viewer feel sick just thinking about being in that position that Winters was currently in, with his family watching, and the ladder he was standing on shaking. Winters would complete a back somersault into the pool below. Rick Winters scored 7, 6, 7, 7, 6, and 5. The judges dropped the high and the low score, add the 3 middle scores together, and Rick Winters set a tough precedent. Let's look at the other divers. Rick Charles, a native of Cincinnati, Ohio, was a high school and collegiate All-American and a 2-time Mid-American Conference diving champion at Ohio University. Charles succeeded in diving 52.4 meters at SeaWorld on the show Wide World of Sports in 1983. Dana Kunze is an American champion high diver. He has held the world records for the highest dives. Kunze began his professional high diving career in 1974 at the age of 13. He won his first world championship in 1977 and maintained a winning streak for 7 years. Dana's jump was a thing of beauty, all right. He drilled it miles ahead of the others in terms of difficulty and execution. Since 1985, Kunze has operated a company, Water Show Productions, that specializes in high dive themed aquatic shows. He was one of the divers who completed the diving record without any injury. Bruce Boccia's high diving attempt in 1983 was one of the most terrible events. Boccia was trying a record-breaking drop from a height of 160 feet, 48.7 meters, when something went wrong. During his descent, he over-rotated and impacted the water in a nearly horizontal position, sometimes described as a belly flop or flat landing. This error resulted in catastrophic injuries. Boccia cracked many ribs and had serious internal injuries as a result of the incident. He sustained bruises to his lungs, and the recuperation period lasted months. Boccia's injuries exposed the enormous risks associated with the sport, prompting increased debate regarding the safety precautions required for high diving. After Dana's dive, things took a turn when Pat Picard attempted the final dive of the event. Unfortunately, It did not go well. He hit the water at such a strange angle that it caused him severe injuries. Not a single person has come close to beating this record, and that's not due to a lack of trying. Over the decades, a few brave guys have stepped up to the task, only to be rewarded with broken backs, shattered legs, and ripped tendons. The 1983 record of jumping from this height without landing has stood for a long time. Getting wounded is extremely difficult. Randy Dixon nearly broke the world record for a 174-foot dive in 1985, but shattered his femur and was unable to leave the pool. He spent the next 9 months in a wheelchair. The current world diving record was set in 2015 by Lazaro Lasso Schaller. Schaller leapt into the record books after achieving the highest dive from a diving board and simultaneously the highest cliff jump. In the breathtaking beautiful setting of Maggia, Ticino, Switzerland, the fearless canyoner threw himself feet first off a 58.8 meters, 194 feet, 10 inches rock face. That's higher than Italy's Leaning Tower of Pisa, 56.71 meters, or the equivalent of a 17-story building. Months of preparation went into this challenge. Schaller and his team had to build a permanent, flat and rigid diving board, and the water below had to be explored using scuba gear to ensure Lasso would be safe to jump into it. Women have different records of high diving. Diver Lucy Wardle Streeter set the women's record high dive record with a somersault from 120 feet and 9 inches. Although it appears pretty interesting, the sport has proved fatal for many. People have faced many injuries. I mean, imagine hitting the water surface from such height. It is a sport where you nearly touch death and come back, and if you don't, you probably end up diving straight into heaven. Water resistance increases with the speed of entry, so entering the water at high velocity induces rapid and potentially dangerous deceleration. In 1989, a 22-year-old who was a member of the Salt Lake Country Club diving team climbed up on a set of towering rocks about 60 feet, 18.2 meters. The 22-year-old dove into the water to perform a backflip, but never surfaced from the water and was found several days later, 120 feet under the water after suffering a broken neck from the dive due to being unaware of shallowy, sandy bottom. Diving activates almost all of the body's muscles. It's no wonder professional divers always have amazing, lean, but also muscular physiques, starting from their shoulders to their abs, pecs, obliques, used in rotational dives, twists for a safe and efficient spine rotation, and obviously powerful quads, hamstrings, and calves. To avoid injury to their arms upon impact with the water, divers from significant heights usually enter the water feet first. You can easily find full videos of these dives over on YouTube. The potential risks are always there, but you can never stop the sports enthusiasts. The point is, why die a simple death if you do while attempting a world record and millions of people can see you? Well, that's another debate. All we care about right now is you like this video and subscribe to the channel. As always, leave your thoughts in the comment section below.